Imagine standing on a still night in the heart of Australia's desert, looking up at a sky that seems alive. The stars aren't just dots, they flow like a shimmering river, a serpent of light twisting across the heavens. Elders once whispered that this was no ordinary rainbow. It was a living being, a cosmic snake that carved the land, filled the waterholes and sent fire into the night. Scientists and storytellers now realize those tales may contain astonishing truths. In this video, we'll uncover how the rainbow serpent shapes rivers, creates mountains, and even paints the Milky Way. Stay with us, because by the end you'll see rainbows, constellations, and storms in a whole new way. And if you're enjoying these mysteries of reality, give this video a thumbs up so more people can join the journey. Long before telescopes or streaming services, Australia's First Nations held a worldview called the dreaming. Stories, songs, and dances that explain how everything came to be. One of the most powerful beings in these stories is the Rainbow Serpent. Known by many names across hundreds of nations, this serpentine deity is seen as a creator and protector, a giver of life and a bringer of chaos when angered. In one Yolngu version, she's called Yurlungur, in the Warlpiri she's Ngalyod, and to the Noongar people she's Wagil. Each name points to the same idea, a gigantic, colorful snake who moves through land and sky. Dreamtime stories describe how the serpent emerged from beneath the earth, pushing up ridges, mountains, and gorges as she rose. Her immense body carved riverbeds and gouged waterholes, giving form to a once featureless land. She is both male and female, sometimes androgynous, always tied to water and fertility. When seen in the sky as a rainbow, it is said she's moving from one waterhole to another, and that divine journey explains why some springs never dry up. Without her, no rain would fall. With her, floods and storms can sweep away anyone who breaks sacred laws. Space itself features in these tales. An old songline tells that the Milky Way, that hazy band of light, came into being when a serpent spirit pulled down a tree and flung glowing fireflies into the darkness. Constellations were shaped by possums stuck in branches and spears thrown by angry spirits. Imagine elders sharing this story around a campfire, pointing up to that celestial river and calling it a living snake. Today, scientists know that our galaxy is a spiral of stars, yet the metaphor of a serpent of light still resonates. Over the next quarter of an hour, we'll weave between myth and science, following 5 aspects of the rainbow serpent: how she shapes the earth, travels the sky, controls water, holds cosmic secrets, and remains alive in modern hearts. These stories aren't just poetry. They're cultural archives and perhaps ancient scientific observations. Dreamtime stories say that before life, the world was a flat, featureless plain. Then the rainbow serpent broke through the surface. As she pushed upward, her body heaved and twisted, creating ridges, mountains, and deep gorges. Her movement carved channels where water could flow. Where she rested, permanent waterholes appeared. She's described as of immense proportions and the keeper of water, controlling life's most precious resource. A Wiradjuri elder once told researchers about a valley near his home. He said his grandfather learned that the valley's sweeping curves followed the shape of the serpent's body. Geologists later noted that those meanders trace an ancient river course. The story acted as a mnemonic device. Similarly, in central Australia, a young anthropologist hiking through a red rock gorge felt a sense of something moving beneath the ground. A memory of being told that the gorge walls were the scales of a snake. The analogy works. Just as a snake's sinuous body leaves a trail in the sand, a river cuts a serpentine path through rock. The serpent's creative role explains why caves, rock outcrops, and boulders are sacred. Noongar stories say their rainbow serpent smashed and pushed boulders around to form trails on Mount Matilda and the Avon River. In some versions, she tickled frogs to make them release water, forming streams and pools. In others, her thrashing body tricked and swallowed two boys and then spat them out as plants, animals, and insects. Each version teaches that the land you see is alive. The loops here are both literal and narrative. The serpent's curves shape the earth, and the story's rhythm helps listeners remember how to navigate that land. From a modern perspective, these tales contain geological insights. They explain erosion, meandering rivers, and the formation of permanent springs in a way that's memorable and local. So when you walk through Australian gorges, imagine a giant snake carving those walls. It's not just a metaphor, it's a cultural map. At night, that same serpent appears above. Indigenous Australians see the Milky Way not as a random scatter of stars, but as a river of light, or serpent of stars. In Arnhem Land, the Yolngu call the Milky Way Milngiawui, the celestial river across which ancestral beings travel. In one ancient story, space was formed when the serpent spirit pulled down a great tree and flung twinkling fireflies into the darkness. Those fireflies became the billions of stars of the Milky Way. This image of a snake flinging light is vividly similar to a nebula birthing stars. One artist from northeastern Arnhem Land, Naminapu Memuru White, paints the Milky Way as a meandering river. She explains that when a person dies, their spirit is taken by Guwak, an ancestral nightbird, to join their relatives in that river of stars. In her words, "You can hear a call when the recently passed arrive, an echo in the heavens. That river is not only for the dead, it's a highway for spirits and a record of their journeys." Indigenous astronomy maps constellations that look like animals. The dark patch near the Southern Cross is Emu in the sky. The Coalsack Nebula becomes the head of the serpent. For navigators and storytellers, these dark shapes are as important as the bright stars. Analogies abound. DNA strands twist like two serpents. Rivers on Earth reflect the sky's ribbon. The Milky Way's spiral arms resemble coils. A Western scientist once told a Yolngu elder that the Milky Way is a barred spiral galaxy. The elder nodded and said, "Yes, like our serpent. It holds us together and spins." The interplay of myth and science here doesn't diminish either view. Instead, it shows that people have long looked up and seen patterns that connect to their lives. The Star River is both a memory of creation and a guide for present journeys. And when meteor showers streak across this river, elders recall the serpent shedding sparks or flinging embers from her body, a natural event woven into cosmic storytelling. The Rainbow Serpent isn't just in the sky. Her name comes from the arc of colors after rain. Indigenous people believe that when you see a rainbow, the serpent is moving from one waterhole to another, diving into water and re-emerging elsewhere. This explains why certain springs never dry up, even in drought. A Kabi elder once showed a group of schoolchildren a series of waterholes during a dry season. Even though the river was reduced to dust, each hole was full. He told them these were the serpent's resting places and warned them never to fish there, because to disturb her would bring punishment. Scientists later learned that these waterholes tap into deep aquifers maintained by underground channels. The story preserved hydrological knowledge, a survival guide disguised as mythology. The serpent's mood affects the weather. When she is content, gentle rains and lush growth follow. When angered by broken laws or disrespect, she can send cyclones and floods. Her anger is accompanied by thunder and lightning. Early missionaries recorded a Kunwinku story where lightning cracks are the serpent's tongue striking the clouds. Today, meteorologists would say that lightning results from electrical charges between air and earth, yet the feeling of awe and fear is universal. One stockman from the Northern Territory recounted watching a storm roll over the plains. An elder beside him murmured, "She's crossing again." Moments later, a rainbow arced across the retreating cloud. To the stockman, it was weather. To the elder, it was the serpent finishing her journey. These water stories also involve morality. The serpent is a lawgiver. If people pollute a waterhole or break sacred taboos, she may dry up the spring or swallow the offenders. Without her, the world would become parched. In some versions, she is believed to deposit spirit children in pools so that women become pregnant when they wade in the water. Life itself is tied to her presence. The loops here keep viewers engaged. We see waterholes, hear a cautionary tale, and learn the scientific explanation, then return to the mythic perspective again. Not all Rainbow Serpent stories are gentle. In the Great Sandy Desert, there is a tale about Kandimalal, or Wolf Creek Crater. According to this story, a star fell from heaven and gouged a giant hole in the earth. A rainbow serpent then took up residence in the crater. In some versions, it was the serpent herself who fell from the sky, creating the crater. The tale goes on. A hunter chased a dingo into the crater and became lost in a tunnel the serpent had made, never to return. Even the dingo was swallowed and spat out elsewhere, transformed. Elders from the Jaru people still visit Kandimalal to sing songs and warn youngsters about respecting the site. In 1947, geologists determined that Wolf Creek Crater was formed by a meteorite impact. Its date is debated. Many believe it occurred around 120,000 years ago, long before humans arrived. But the serpent story may preserve a memory of a more recent meteor exploding in the sky, later woven into an origin story. The star-falling theme appears in other myths across Australia. Some say the serpent's scales became stars, or that she hurled embers from her body into the heavens. A young Jaru artist painted Kandimalal as concentric circles with bright streaks emanating outward. She explained to a gallery visitor that the streaks are both the serpent's coils and the river of light swirling after the star struck. The visitor, a geologist, commented that the pattern looked like shock waves in a blast. Both saw the same shape and told different truths. That interplay keeps the story alive. It also ties back to our earlier video about fire from the sky. Here, the loop is reversed. A cosmic event inspires a serpent myth, which then influences how people perceive meteors and craters. The rainbow serpent isn't unique to Australia. Anthropologist Robert Blust documented similar beliefs about rainbows and serpents across tribal societies worldwide. In West Africa, Aida Wedo is a rainbow snake who brings fertility. In Mesoamerica, the feathered serpent Quetzalcoatl carries wind and knowledge. In Norse mythology, Jörmungandr encircles the world. This suggests a culture universal linking serpents, rainbows, water, and creation. Researchers have also looked for natural inspirations. Some suggest the rainbow serpent is modeled on species like the rock python or carpet python, whose iridescent scales shimmer in the sun. Others point to eels and sea snakes, or to the shimmering colors of quartz and seashells used in ceremonies. There's even evidence that fossil snakes such as Wanambi, a giant constrictor that once lived in Australia, may have inspired ancient art. These interpretations don't erase the myth. They enrich it. The serpent becomes both a supernatural being and an emblem of the natural world. Modern indigenous artists and leaders continue to paint, carve and dance the serpent. For them, it's not a fossil or metaphor, it's a living entity, present in rainbows, rivers and the Milky Way. Elders explain that the serpent stories are everywhere. They exist in the past, present and future simultaneously. A young musician from Arnhem Land wrote a song that blends electronic beats with clapsticks, chanting about Jörlungur swimming through stars. At a festival, teenagers dance to this track under a projection of the Milky Way. Some have never heard the story before, yet they feel an ancient connection. By recognizing the serpent across cultures and time, We see how storytelling is a bridge between our ancestors and us. The narrative loop comes full circle. The myth inspires art, the art keeps the myth alive, and both connect to natural phenomena and scientific ideas. We began this journey under a night sky blazing with a river of stars. We heard that the Rainbow Serpent carved mountains and gorges, creating life and water. We learned that she slithers across the heavens, her body mirrored in the Milky Way, created by a serpent flinging fireflies into darkness. We saw how rainbows mark her movement between waterholes, how storms and floods are her mood, and how a falling star and crater become her home. We explored how similar serpents appear worldwide and how natural creatures and fossils may have inspired the myth. What ties all these threads together is the idea that stories are not just entertainment. They're repositories of ecological, astronomical, and moral knowledge. When elders say the serpent created streams, they're also passing on hydrological facts. When they warn not to disturb a waterhole, they're protecting aquifers. When they point to the Milky Way and speak of a serpent, they're mapping the night sky. These narratives keep people safe, teach respect for the land, and embed complex concepts into memorable images. As modern viewers, we can appreciate the beauty and depth of these stories without appropriating them. We can marvel at the way a mythical serpent mirrors our scientific understanding of galaxies, rivers, and storms. Next time you see a rainbow, a meteor, or the Milky Way, think of the Rainbow Serpent and the knowledge woven into her scales. These tales remind us that science and story aren't adversaries. They're partners in our quest to understand reality. We're all watching the same sky, and the same serpent may be swimming through our imaginations. If these ancient tales and cosmic connections resonated with you, give this video a like to help others discover the wonders of the Rainbow Serpent. Drop a comment below about a story or memory you have of looking at a rainbow or the Milky Way. Do you see a river of stars or a snake in the sky? And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you won't miss our next journey into the secrets of reality. Share this episode with your mates, family, or anyone who loves a good yarn. The more we listen to each other, the more we realize that myths and science together reveal a universe that's richer than either alone. Cheers for watching.